Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first session in American English Live Teacher Development Series 5. My name is Lauren, and I'll be with you today along with my colleague behind the scenes, Heather, who will be serving as moderator to help answer your questions and respond to your comments during the session. Today, our host, Kate, will be talking with our presenter, Leslie Ott Beckman, about how to evaluate your existing ELT materials for critical thinking content and how to weave even more critical thinking into your English language courses. So let's go ahead and get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first session in American English Live Series 5. We're so happy to have you all here with us today to talk about practical applications for critical thinking in English language teaching and learning. Please let us know in the chat box or the comments where you are from, where you're joining us from, and how many webinars you've joined us for in the past throughout the series. Maybe there are so many that you've attended with us that you can't even count, but maybe give it a shot. And of course, if it's your first time here, we're so very happy to see you and look forward to learning and sharing with you today. So let's start with these great photos featuring teachers from Tunisia, Nepal, and Mexico who participated in past American English Live events. We love to see teachers learning and sharing ideas during the American English Live series, so please share your photos by emailing them to americanenglishwebinars@elprograms.org or by tagging us in social media. If you tag us, make sure to use the handle or the tag @American English for Educators so that we can see the great photos you post, and we may feature one of your photos during the next event. We begin Series 5 today with a focus on critical thinking, a topic we will revisit later this series. We're also, during this series, going to explore teaching English with comics and graphic novels and learner motivation. We look forward to learning with you and hope you will be able to use the practical information and strategies that you find in this series in your classrooms. Which topics are you most excited about? Please share your ideas in the chat box or comments. So here's a little bit about what to expect. Each session is approximately 60 minutes long and is often related to an American English eTeacher Massive Open online course or a Teacher's Corner theme on the American English website. The presenter will present the material and I, as your host, will ask questions and make comments as well. But we really hope to hear from you, our audience, so that we can address your ideas and experiences. Please do share your thoughts, questions, and comments throughout the session, and we will try to address as many of them as we can. When our session comes to a close in about an hour, you will have an opportunity to receive a digital badge for your participation. At the end of the session, we will share a link in the comments and at the top of this post. Click on that link and complete a short quiz about today's session. You must answer 2 out of 3 questions correctly. Once you've successfully passed the quiz, you should expect to receive a badge via email in about a week. And one thing today about the digital badges is if you've been with us before, our quiz looks a little bit different, so don't worry. It's the same basic quiz and it's definitely from us, but it looks a little bit different. The format is different. We're trying out a new platform, so please give us your feedback on it. And let us know if you have any trouble with the link, but we certainly hope to issue all of you some great digital badges using our new system. So it's not too late to join the free self-paced American English eTeacher MOOC, Teaching Grammar Communicatively. And for those of you who are new to this, MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Course. So this free practice-oriented online course will help you to explore how to adapt grammar instruction to better meet students' needs. Participants will learn how to integrate grammar instruction with other language skills, explore task-based grammar learning approaches, and evaluate error correction techniques and strategies. Students study independently without a facilitator in this course, but if you want to join a group and do this MOOC together, we think that's a great idea. Maybe get some of your friends and colleagues to join the MOOC with you, and you can learn and practice and study together. So during the MOOC, though, the online portion is not facilitated, but you can log in and complete the course anytime between the time frame listed on the slide here, March 25th, all the way through June 17th. So you have from now till June 17th to complete the course. Please visit the link shown here for more information and to learn how to enroll. And now for today's session, practical applications for critical thinking in English language teaching and learning. Many educators understand the value of critical thinking, or CT, and other 21st century skills, but may have limited time to create new materials, few hours per week to work with learners, or a set curriculum which they are required to follow. This session offers ways to determine how much critical thinking content can already be found in your existing materials, as well as practical options for weaving more critical thinking into your materials on a regular basis. Today, we will review some of the key features of CT and its importance as an element in any learning environment. We'll also discuss ways to analyze current materials for critical thinking content, and identify practical ways to apply critical thinking in language teaching and learning. And now it's my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Dr. Leslie Beckman. Leslie is a faculty member at the University of Oregon, where she serves as Director of Innovative Programming for the American English Institute and teaches in the Language Teaching Studies Master's Program in the Linguistics Department. She also develops and teaches courses for the American English e-Teacher program and has served as a U.S. Department of State English language specialist in over 40 countries. Her research interests in the field of TESOL include online and hybrid learning environments, curriculum and program development, the use of open educational resources and accessible practices in teaching, and teacher training for everything from camps for youth to specialized English for post-secondary levels. Welcome, Leslie. We're so happy to have you here with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kate, for that beautiful welcome. I've been following the comments in the chat room, and I see that we have some alumni with us today from previous courses in eTeacher. So welcome, alumni. It's lovely to see you again, and welcome to new participants. I look forward to working with you all during this next hour. Great. So we're going to talk about practical applications for critical thinking in language learning and teaching, and our topics today will follow along these four main areas. So what is critical thinking, or CT? And I will use those two terms interchangeably. Why is CT important in today's world? How do I know if it's critical thinking? What are some easy ways to make critical thinking part of my language learning and teaching? So we'll be exploring these topics together.
Sounds good.
Cool. So let's start with, what is critical thinking? So first of all, we really want to hear what you think. What does critical thinking mean to you? What are some examples of critical thinking you may already know about, or perhaps even be using in your classes? So please use your chat room to tell us what's going on with you and critical thinking.
Yeah, let us know. What does critical thinking mean to you? How would you define critical thinking? And also share some examples of critical thinking. Maybe examples from your daily life or examples from your classroom or from what your students do. What do you think? Let's see. Julia says it's looking at an issue from various perspectives. Excellent. Thinking out of the box from Usman. Problem solving from Yusuf. Wonderful answers. New ideas from Ahmed. Anita says critical thinking is analyzing and evaluating an idea. Independent thinking. Great thoughts, everybody. Giving an opinion is an example. Wonderful. Excellent ideas. What do you think, Leslie?
Wow, I think we're off to a great start. They have a lot of knowledge already that they're going to bring to today's webinar. So these are fabulous ways to get started. Let's look a little more deeply at what we've got as a definition. So next slide. Bloom's taxonomy. So many of you may be familiar with this already. Bloom was a very famous philosopher and educator researcher, and he came up with a theory that said that when we're learning a language or learning any new information, we start with what he called lower order thinking skills. And lower did not mean less important. Lower is very important. It simply means that they are the foundation or the basis for which we build our knowledge. So examples of lower order thinking skills are things like remembering. So when you're first learning a language, whether it's English or something else, you have to remember, you have to memorize nouns and verbs and lots of information. And then you also have to understand or make sense out of what you're remembering. Eventually, as you learn more and more, you are able to apply your English or apply that new knowledge in new ways. And then finally, as we move up the chart in complexity, we get into higher order thinking skills. You're using English to create new information, to invent, to design or build. You may be using language to evaluate, to make judgments or defend or negotiate things. You may also be involved in analysis, so analyzing information, synthesizing it. I see examples around comparing or contrasting. And this is really where critical thinking resides. It's up in this HOTS or higher order thinking category.
Great.
Okay. So what is critical thinking? Critical thinking was traditionally separate from or not incorporated into what we called the traditional 3 R's. And the 3 R's in education were reading, writing, which starts with the sound R, but has a sneaky W in the front there, and then arithmetic or mathematics. So when we went to school, we studied reading, writing, and arithmetic, and that was considered to be a full education. How is that different from today? Today, when we think of education, whether it's English or any other topic or field, we think in terms of 21st century skills. And one way to think about those 21st century skills is the framework called the 4 C's. So the 4 C's are communication, collaboration, creativity, and our topic today, critical thinking. Okay. We also talk about why critical thinking is important in today's world. What is your opinion? What are some ways that critical thinking can benefit your students? Why study critical thinking in English? Let's see what folks have to say.
Great. Yeah, let's hear from you, everyone. What is your opinion? We saw those great examples of lots and HOTS with Bloom's taxonomy. And we also saw how education is changing a little bit. We sort of in the past or more traditionally have only focused on the important skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic. And now we're focusing on others, which include critical thinking. What do you think? Why is it important in today's world? And what are some ways that developing critical thinking skills can benefit our students? Let's see. Carla says it helps students to be more independent learners. Great. Ikeb says to solve problems. These are some of the ways that it can help benefit students. Freddie says critical thinking makes learning more meaningful and memorable. Juan Alberto says those soft skills are getting remarkably important. Very good point. Let's see. Hina says critical thinking not only includes one field like English, but it benefits all the fields and subjects. That's such an excellent point. Wonderful. So many great ideas just keep flowing in. Logical, it helps students with logic. It helps students to tackle the problem and solve it from Shakil. Wonderful. Really tons of great responses coming in. I can't even read all of them. Great responses, everybody.
Yeah, okay, and I'm seeing some related to work as well. Marco says, in a country in which minimum wage is not enough to feed a family, one needs to be competitive through critical thinking to get better paying work.
That's very true. Good point.
Yeah, so let's see how that maps on to what we're talking about today in our next slide. So many of you mentioned these things already. So why is critical thinking important in today's world? Our students need to have excellent problem-solving skills. the jobs and the work that they do, their studies that they do, the raising of their families, whatever they may be doing is going to inevitably involve lifelong learning. So it's not enough to get an education in primary or secondary school. We are going to be constantly moving and learning to keep pace with today's world all through our lives. Our students need to have autonomy or the ability to work independently, but they also need to be able to be collaborative. Collaboration is that ability to work in groups or on teams effectively. They also need to be able to engage in multi-perspective thinking, being able to see the world through somebody else's eyes and have respect for different opinions or different ways of thinking. Many of you mentioned that this is an attribute that can help our students get better jobs. And ultimately, we all hope that by being stronger and more aware and better thinkers, we can help make the world a better place.
Absolutely. And on a similar point, Titzer Grace says that it'll help students to be globally competitive and hopefully also to be competitive in ways that help to innovate and make the world a better place.
Very nice. I see lots of comments around making better decisions, being able to focus on the core content and not the background noise, getting better results through a better thinking process. So, wow, we've got some great critical thinkers out there today.
Absolutely, definitely.
Okay, so what do we got on our next slide? I think we have an activity coming up. Yes, let's play a game. Would you like to play a game?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so Kate, the topic for our game today is food. This is a topic that you find in lots of English language textbooks and lessons. And our task today is to introduce yourself. So in our traditional 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, in class, we would do something like this. We would say, my name is Leslie, I like English. Kate would say, my name is Kate, I like English too. And it would, you know, we might learn each other's names, but we might not get to know a whole lot about each other at a deeper level. In this activity, you will see 3 pairs of food-related words. So these will be nouns. And for each pair, your job is to choose one word to describe yourself, and then explain how the chosen word relates to you. So the structure we're going to use for that is to get ready to introduce yourself using this sentence. So I choose a piece of food because and then you give a reason. Shall we try one together?
That sounds good. Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Let's try one together first. Okay, so our next slide shows the opportunity for you to choose one word from this pair of nouns to describe yourself. So, audience, are you a salad or a candy bar?
Interesting.
Why? So we'd love to see in the chat box is an introduction of yourself, telling us if you're a salad or a candy bar and why.
Okay, everyone, let's hear from you. What do you think? Are you a salad or a candy bar? And please explain why. Let's see. Delafru says, I'm a candy bar. Good. Lots of people choosing, let's see, mango and watermelon, things like that, which is also great. Let's think about between salad and candy bar. What do you think? Let's see. Sadia says, I am a candy bar because I am sweet. Very nice. Diana says that she'll try this tomorrow with her students. That's great. Tell us how it goes. Mikkel says, I'm a salad because my education is mixed in its nature. That's such a nice way of thinking of it. I love it. Good one. Anna says, I'm a candy bar because I'm a little nutty at times.
Ooh, good pun.
Let's see. I'm a salad because I am healthy, active, and fresh from Almas. Wonderful. I'm a salad because I have a variety of skills from Tibna. Wonderful. Excellent. These are great.
Yeah, here's one I really like from Marco. I'm a candy bar because I can transmit happiness when you talk to me.
Wow, that sounds great. Yeah, Good one.
Okay, so great practice session. I think everybody's got it. Let's go on to the actual game and look at our next slide where you choose one word from each pair to describe yourself. So, are you a cup of coffee or a glass of orange juice? Are you a chocolate cake or an ice cream cone? Are you a bowl of soup or a sandwich, and why? So think about your choices, choose your favorite one, and let's have one more round of introductions with reasons. Let's see if we can find out a little bit more about our audience out there. What are they all about? What kind of food are they?
Let's see, what do you think, everyone? So choose between one of each of the pairs and tell us which type of food you are and why. Let's see. Dahlia says she's a cup of coffee. A glass of orange juice from Hina because she's fresh and energetic. Very nice. Let's see. I'm a bowl of soup because I love soup. Good one from Mina. Let's see. I'm soup because I am very warm. That's nice. What else? What about you, Leslie? Do you have one that you want to choose and tell us about?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I was thinking about everyone else. I think I'm a chocolate cake because I have layers, different layers.
Nice.
And each layer is slightly different and does something else for your dining or teaching experience.
Oh, I like it. Very nice.
Okay. I see one more. I am a cup of coffee because I can make my class more energized.
Very nice. Yep. And Patty also says, I'm a cup of coffee because I'm energetic. Excellent, everybody. Really great responses.
Okay, so let's look at the let's look at how this relates then to critical thinking and Bloom's taxonomy. So thinking about this activity that we just did and introducing ourselves to each other in a non-traditional way, does this activity require critical thinking? Why or why not?
Very good. What do you think, everyone, about this activity that we just did where we named a food that we identified with and said why? Does this activity require critical thinking? And then let us know why or why not. What reasons do you have? Let's see. Yuldu says that really makes us think. Let's see. One from the morning session was that a good reason was that there's no right or wrong answer, which I really like. What else? What do you think? Give us, so I see a lot of people saying, yes, this is a great critical thinking activity. What is the rationale? Or why do you think, what kind of critical thinking skills does this help us with? And Leslie has put a great hint on the slide here with Bloom's taxonomy. Let's see. It encourages students to make use of ordinary words to create new relations with those words and uses. Very good. And Jesselyn says, it makes the students think more creatively. Great.
Okay.
And a lot of people saying they're going to try this in the classroom, like De La Frus. And sharing the reasons for our choice from Jiang Duan. Very good. Great.
Okay, so let's look at our next question. If you're thinking about using an activity like this in class, and I know many of you have very limited time in the classes and your time with your students, how much time do you think this would take in your class?
Very good. Yeah, what do you think, everyone? How much time would this take? Maybe 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or maybe a percentage of time in the classroom? What do you think? How long would this take to implement in your class? We were talking a little bit earlier in the session description about how often it can be a challenge for students or for teachers to incorporate critical thinking skills because you have to really focus on the curriculum that you're using, and there might not be enough time. But this was a great activity. How much time do you think? Let's see, Mina says 10 minutes. Let's see, 5 minutes from Sana. I see a couple of others saying 10 minutes. And one person says, I think this could be a warm-up, so maybe 10 minutes.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I see Marco says it depends on the number of students, which is true if you're doing it as a whole class activity. If students are broken into groups and they're doing it in smaller numbers, you may be able to cut down the time and get people to be able to do more speaking too.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like between 5 and 10, 15 minutes is what a lot of people are saying. So hopefully, yeah, maybe we can incorporate this in some of our lessons.
Great. Let's look at a couple more questions related to this activity. Question number 3, what are some ways to use this activity in a lesson? So one person mentioned as a warm-up. What are some other ways that you might use this?
Great. Yeah, how could you use this activity in a lesson? Let's see. You could have students listen to some and allow the other students to write their answers on a paper and then share it with the whole class later. That's a great idea.
It's a fabulous idea.
Maybe a group could give one answer together. That's another nice idea from Maimuna.
Hina says to cut the boredom. So if your students are getting a little sleepy while you're talking about food, just do a quick pick-me-up with an activity like this in the middle of a class.
Used at the beginning of class. Eleanor says it could be used as a reflection.
Oh, good idea.
And Hasmik says you could use it to speak about characters in a story or book, maybe. That's a great idea.
Ooh, that's a great segue into our 4th question, which is, how can you change this activity for other topics, for lower versus higher level students, and or for a shorter or a longer period of time? So how might you adapt it?
Yeah, great question. So something that often comes up is asking the question about what level is this appropriate for? But how can you use this activity and maybe adapt it for your learners? Maybe they're at a little bit lower level or a higher level. So how could you adapt it for them? Or how could you drag this activity out or expand on it so that you're using other skills or helping students to develop even more for a longer period of time? Or how could you even cut it into a shorter amount of time too? And then what other topics could you use? Let's see.
I see start a competition, use it for self-assessment, use it for review for words or phrases that they're already familiar with.
Reading comprehension from Shafkat. Let's see, to encourage students to participate from Samira. Let's see. Anita says she could use it to teach vocabulary, like the students could remember the words first maybe, and then go into the activity.
Great, that's a good use of Bloom's taxonomy, sort of moving up that scale there.
Definitely. Controversial topics, Patricia says we could use, let's see, maybe more difficult nouns, higher level nouns could be used for higher level students.
There you go.
And Amjad says we could take topics from their personal lives, which is a great idea to incorporate their life into the classroom.
And I see Magali says for Animal Day, which was celebrated this week.
Great.
Yeah,
wonderful
super.
Ideas. Yeah.
Wonderful ideas. Okay, good. Well, we've got one activity that we can adapt and use in lots of different ways. What are some other easy ways to make critical thinking part of language teaching and learning? So one of the things that I like to recommend is that you analyze the textbooks or other resources that you're already using and try to identify gaps. Do your resources have critical thinking in them? Where is critical thinking perhaps missing? So one of the techniques I like to use is to take my book and take some stickies like this, or paper clips, or any other marking device. And I know this book because I've been teaching this class for a long time, and I have these units practically memorized. And I just flip through, and every time I find a critical thinking activity, maybe analysis, maybe compare and contrast, maybe create something or invent something, I just put a little sticky in the page. And I just keep skimming through the book, and every time I find something new, I put in a new sticky. And maybe as I'm doing this, I start to notice patterns. So maybe I'm noticing at the end of every unit, there's a critical thinking. Or maybe I get all the way through my book and I look at the end and I see, oh gosh, I only have 2 stickies. There's not very much critical thinking in my textbook at all. So I ask myself, where are the gaps, and do I need more critical thinking activities? Do I need them?
This is a great idea. Yeah, let us know if you have done something similar or if this is something that you could possibly do. Yeah, so often we have textbooks that maybe we have to incorporate in our classroom, and they might be okay. They might have some really great critical thinking activities, or if we could just go through and analyze as we're going through, we might even come up with some ideas that we could do to supplement the things that are in our textbooks. So yeah, what do you think? Would you like to use this idea, and what other ideas do you have? Lots of people are saying this is a great idea. Angelina, Shaquille, Dilafrus, Titzer. Yeah, lots of really good feedback that this is a good idea that people would like to do. Great. Hina?
You can do this while you're having your coffee, while you're eating your lunch. Maybe you do part of your book and then later you do the rest of it, just kind of flipping through and just tagging wherever you find it, or not tagging if nothing is there.
Great.
Cool. All right. Shall we talk about another goal?
Yeah.
Yeah. So another tip is once you've identified what's in or not in your book and decided if you want to add more critical thinking, you can set goals for yourself. And again, knowing that many of you teach lots and lots of students, maybe more than one job, maybe more than 2 jobs, you have families, you have a lot of commitments, trying to make the most and best use of your precious time. So one of the strategies that I've used in the past is, for example, I may see that all of the units need more critical thinking, but I don't have time to build one for every unit in the book. So I'm going to work with Kate, who's my fellow instructor, and I'm going to do the first half of the book, and she's going to do the second half of the book, and we're going to share our activities so we can put our ideas together. And that'll save me some time and her some time too.
I love that. And it's such a great way to sort of build in some mentorship and collaboration. A lot of times as teachers, we kind of are just by ourselves doing our own thing, but this is one way to really easily or very simply collaborate and share ideas between teachers. Yeah, I like this idea a lot.
Yeah, and if you and your partner are having a really good time after you've done that so successfully, you could write an article for English Language Teaching Forum about it, like the articles that we have with our webinar today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another kind of situation I find myself in, and I hear other educators do too, is my curriculum, my syllabus is completely full. I am required to teach those things. I only have a little free time, but every once in a while, I'll get 5 minutes at the end of class where suddenly there's a tiny pocket of time. And so rather than designing something that's unit specific, I'll choose some creative, critical thinking activities and just keep them in my back pocket. And then when I have a few extra minutes, I'll take one out and we'll do it, and it can apply to any topic or fit anywhere. It could even function as a reward. After you do these with your students and they tell you that they like them, you could say, wow, if we get through our lesson really on time today, we'll have 5 extra minutes for a fun critical thinking game. So
Definitely.
Lots of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what other goals do you have out there, participants? What other goals could you maybe set for yourself in adding a little bit more critical thinking? I like these 2 example goals because you can see that there are 2 different contexts. We have the one teacher who's going to work with and collaborate and make a bunch of activities for a textbook. Like Leslie said, maybe she's really familiar already with all of the materials in her book, and so she can start adding some new ideas. And then the other one who has maybe a little bit less time and is just going to look for some quick ideas that she or he can throw into the classroom instruction, maybe spontaneously or when they have the time. So what other goals do you have? And I have a really great comment from Kusar who says, that they restructure or incorporate activities to boost learners' reflection and reflection and creativity, which I think is similar to the second goal here, trying to boost that as much as they can. So great comment. What other goals do you have for incorporating new critical thinking? Let's see, Yusuf says use at least one critical thinking activity per class. Very nice.
That's a great goal.
Yeah. More collaborative and peer learning from Shafkat. Great. Excellent goal. Let's see, I do a set a day, especially for critical thinking. Very nice, Hina. Great idea.
All right. Wonderful.
Wonderful. Yep.
Okay, well, let's move on to our next activity, in which we're going to look at some ways to add critical thinking through role plays and verbal activities. I often hear from educators that they wish their students had more time and more motivation and more confidence, less fear around verbal activities, speaking and using English. So more confident about communicating in English and not worrying so much about, did I make a mistake or is my English perfect? And then we'll look at some examples too for problem solving and puzzles kinds of critical thinking activities. So let's take a look at these. So activity number 1, role plays and verbal activities. Some best practices around using role plays and verbal activities are to maximize the amount of time that students get to use English. So if I'm putting my students one by one up in front of my classroom, only one student is getting a chance to talk at a time. If I put students into groups or pairs or teams, it gets noisier in the classroom, but that's okay because students are using English and they're getting more opportunities because they are in those smaller groups and working at the same time. I want to be careful and sure that I vary the tasks. So if my topic is food, I want to give different food tasks, different activities to different groups. That way, if they're presenting or if they're reporting, not everyone is reporting on the same thing. I'm truly motivated to listen and hear what is the other group saying or what is the other person doing because it's different from what I'm doing. We want to give students choices. Earlier in our webinar today, some people mentioned the importance of open-ended answers. So not just one right answer. The students are truly coming up with their own answers. And then making sure that students who are not talking are not sitting just passively, making sure they are engaged in what we call active listening. So active listening means while Kate is talking, I'm preparing to answer a quiz afterwards. I'm preparing to ask Kate questions. I'm preparing to ask Kate for clarification on things I don't understand. So I have a job, a listening job to do. So would you like to try an activity around our same topic of food and look at what we might do to do these, to implement these things?
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's go for it.
Here we are. We've got 4 cards. So in my class, I've literally got 4 pieces of paper and different groups get different tasks to do. So group A gets card A. And while you're listening to this, what I'd like you to be doing is thinking about choosing one of these. So which one of these would you like to work on? So choice number A, plan a menu for a wedding dinner for 200 guests, but the only ingredients you have are chicken, ice cream, carrots, and bananas. What will you eat? Card B, you are a famous person in the world of sports. You are going to swim the 200-kilometer race in New York at Manhattan Island next month. You need to gain weight because it's going to be really cold, but you also need to stay very strong. What 5 foods will you eat every day so you can accomplish this task?
Good one.
Yeah. Card C, it's your job to make lunch for everyone at school today. You and your group can cook your 4 favorite foods, but you need to please prepare a shopping list so we can get everything that we need to do the cooking. Option number 4, card D, your poor family is very sick. One person has a cold, one person has a broken hand, and one person has the hiccups. Kate, what are the hiccups?
Like that.
And you can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
What will you feed all of them? You have to feed all of them in one meal so that they can all feel better. So please choose one and tell us what you did. What's your solution? What's your solution to this interesting puzzle?
Yeah, so everyone participate. Choose one of the cards and let us know how you're going to solve this problem. So you could use this as a group activity or an individual activity, right, Leslie?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And so feel free, everybody, let us know which card you're going to choose and how you're going to solve the problem presented in the card. Let's see, Jessel says card D, hot porridge and medicine. Very nice. And let us know, let us know the reason as well. Let's see, soup, I know, card D, you just give everybody some soup. Let's see.
Why soup? Why soup? What are the magic properties of soup? Yes.
And Rosanna says, card C, I want to make healthy food for as many people as possible, but how are you going to do that? What foods are you going to purchase at the supermarket or the grocery store? How are you going to make sure you have time to prepare, etc.? Let's see.
So this is fun. This is a lot like working with our own students.
Yeah.
Our students may at first be a little confused by activities like this. And they're sort of looking to you like, Kate, what's the right answer? I don't know what the right answer is here. Tell me the right answer, Kate.
And you have to say, there's no right answer.
There is no right answer. I really need to hear from you. What's your answer? Okay, so here we have from Hina. Soup has natural and light ingredients and helps people recover from sickness in a short time. Excellent justification, excellent explanation.
Great. And Tibna says, I will go with card D, serve them milk with turmeric and honey. It will be a good remedy for all of them because it soothes them. Very good.
Did we get any athletes? Anybody, card B, who's like wanting to get super strong? Like,
yeah, one person said for card B, they would, if I need to gain weight but stay strong, I will eat chicken, broccoli, bananas, rice, and watermelon. That's from Anita. Very good.
Very good.
For card B, Kusar says, for card B, I'll eat the foods mentioned in card A. That's a good one.
Nice. And I see Marco says, I would like to get my students to work on card C. So card C is very attractive to you. I think we can remind ourselves that one of the goals in this kind of activity is for students to have different cards and different choices. You might even let them choose and see which one they feel most connected to and that they're most inspired to use English with.
Very good. Rusana says she's going to buy vegetables, meat, fruit, beverages, and chocolate as healthy as possible. The chocolate will be as healthy as possible. That's good.
Great. Okay, we got lots of knowledge about food out there. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Food's a great topic because everybody can talk about food. And so we just ran through which card did you choose, and you had some fabulous answers. So let's step back from the activity for just a minute and ask ourselves, what lower order thinking skills are necessary for this activity? What do students need to know in order to be successful using those cards?
Great. Look at the Bloom's taxonomy here and look at those lower order thinking skills as a clue. And what kind of activities are necessary for the students to be successful in this activity? Let's see, what do you think? What lower order thinking skills are important for the students to remember?
So what English do they need to bring to this task in order to be successful with it?
Great. Ron just, okay, Carla says remembering and understanding. Food, They have to recall the food vocabulary from Victoria. Majali also says remembering vocabulary. Excellent.
Great.
Yes.
Name, list, describe, know the basic roots. Okay, excellent. Okay.
Great.
So I think it's a nice reminder to ourselves, we before we drop our students into these critical thinking activities, we need to be sure they are prepared and they have the the tools and the knowledge in order to have fun with them and feel successful with them.
Great.
Okay, got a couple more questions. What higher order thinking skills are part of this particular activity? So moving up the Bloom's taxonomy, what kind of critical thinking skills are they using as part of this activity?
Great. Well, yeah, what higher order? So we talked about remembering and understanding as part of the lower order thinking skills for this activity, but what higher order thinking skills? Titzer says sorting and comparing. Yeah, Rusana says understanding, analyzing, evaluating, comparing. Lots of answers are coming through, so I'm reading them very quickly.
Good.
Let's see. Gulnara says the topics of vocabulary are important. Sorry. Sandra says supplying and creating.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Evaluating the situation they choose and coming up with a creative solution. Great.
Wonderful.
Evaluating and analyzing from Jiang. And Rosalind says students should analyze what foods are appropriate to eat in each situation. Wonderful. Great ideas, everybody.
Wonderful. So some of you may at this point in our webinar be thinking to yourselves, wow, these are some things I already do in my classes. And in that case, give yourself a pat on the back and congratulate yourself for doing a good job and having confirmation of like, yes, I'm doing some good things, even more good things than I already knew I was doing as a teacher. Okay, let's move on and look at some resources for this activity. So if you would like to go to a couple of websites and look for some ideas that you can adapt along these lines for your students and your needs, a couple of websites I can recommend are Critical Thinking Activities for Kids from Jumpstart, roughly ages primary and up, although almost any idea you can adapt to a different level or a different age, as we've seen from our earlier practice in our webinar. And then I also really like the Critical Thinking Workbook from Kathy Schrock. It's a downloadable PDF file. You can use it offline, and it's aimed at teens or secondary and adult. But again, you may be able to adapt some ideas there to younger learners as well.
Great. I have a quick question from Ahmed about the last activity. Is that activity for all levels? What do you think?
The activity that we just did with the cards?
Yes.
Right, and so I guess I would turn that back to you. How would you adapt that activity to make it applicable for other levels? So the language that I used, the complexity, and the number of cards were targeted, I would say, to an educator audience, to teens or adults with probably at least an intermediate level proficiency. If you have younger learners or lower level students, you would change the language on the cards in order to match their level and match their needs. So you might give fewer choices. You might give simpler problems. You would make sure that the language that you're using matches what they've been studying in their texts and in your lessons.
Great. Yes,
Great.
definitely. Yeah, lots of great ideas out there, and all of these resources that Leslie is sharing here and that will also be available on the Ning, and all the ideas in today's webinar are all things that you can use as a jumpstart to adapt and use in your context and with your level of learners. Thanks for that question.
Okay. All right, let's go on to one more activity here. This one is related to problem solving and puzzles, and we've already been doing some of that, but this one really zones in, really focuses in on a problem that needs to be solved. So again, we're going to make it our best intention, our best effort to give different problems to different students so that we get different outcomes. This keeps it interesting. It gets a little boring if everyone is coming up with the same answer and the same solution for everything. So we try to mix it up and keep it interesting. Again, reminding ourselves that we are allowing for open-ended solutions. And this can feel a little scary at times as a teacher. We may have a general idea of what we think our students might say or where we think they might be going, but they can surprise us sometimes. So we kind of have to be ready for a surprise because their idea of a right answer may be different than ours, and that's okay. And along those lines, we want for not only ourselves, but to help our students Respect other people's solutions and opinions and ideas and ways of thinking. And then you may find that after your students have done this with you for a while, that they like to come up with their own puzzles and problems too, and create things for other students to work on. So let's look at an example. Are we ready for an example?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, this one is lost at sea. So you were on a beautiful vacation, a big cruise ship, like the Titanic, and you were cruising along through the ocean and your boat sank.
Uh-oh.
Now you're in a small group, lots of small groups. Every group is on a lifeboat and lost at sea. Each group has a book of matches and different things that you pulled out of the water as the ship was sinking. So group A, you have a large water bottle, an axe for chopping things, mosquito repellent, and repellent means to push things away. So mosquito repellent is something you spray on yourself to make the mosquitoes stay away. You have a map and compass. Here we have it again. You have candy bars and a fishing pole. Group B, be thinking while I'm talking, which group do you want to join? Group B, you've got a shovel for digging. You've got some freeze-dried food in these nice plastic packages. You've got a satellite radio for calling. I don't know if anyone's out there. I don't know if the radio has batteries or not.
Uh-oh.
You have shark repellent, you've got a rope, and you have a plastic sheet. So let's get our fly-in down there so we can see our task. Your job is first by yourself, rank the items in order of importance. Choose a group, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, what's the most important? And then share your answers, and we're going to see what everyone says. If we were doing this in groups, after I did my secret list, then I would talk to my group numbers, and we have to negotiate. We have to talk to each other and come up with one list of what's the most important, next most important, 3, 4, 5. What do we got coming in?
All right, lots of people are saying, well, we got a mix, group A and group B, but let us know, everyone, what group do you want to join and what is the most important item on your list and why? So out of the items on your list, what's the most important item and why is that the most important? So let's see. Kashipa says group B has all the necessary things. Great, but let us know which of those things is the most important. Jiang Young says they would choose group A and they would choose a map and compass. Why would you choose that map and compass? Why do you think that's the most important item on your list? Make sure to explain why you chose that. Let's see. Gulnara says group A, compass and map because we need to find our way. Farouk says that the shark repellent is important. Banish says shark repellent, satellite radio, rope, in that order. Okay. Let's see. Julia says group B, freeze-dried food because we cannot know how long we will be there. So it might be helpful to have some food that's not going to expire. Very good. Group B, shark repellent. A lot of people like that shark repellent.
But does it really work? How many sharks are there?
Exactly. And look at group, Mikkel says a plastic sheet to collect rainwater. Very good.
Good one. Very good.
And yeah, Rasha says we won't stay alive without a water bottle. So that's, she's choosing group A.
Okay. All right. Wow. Lots of creative answers. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I see that Hina says using the rope with fried food to help with fishing.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have fun with that? Was it interesting? Did you use a lot of English? Did you use your critical thinking skills? All right. Lots of answers. Yeah. So let's go into question 2. What lower order thinking skills are necessary for this activity?
Good. So looking again here at our clue for lower order thinking skills, what lower order thinking skills are necessary? Let's see. And lots of people saying they really like this activity and how much fun it was.
Good. Try it in your class. Try it in your class. Change the list. Do whatever you need to do. Let us know how it goes. Yes.
Great. Hina says you need to understand the situation. Very good.
Okay.
Let's see. What other lower order thinking skills do you need? Shafkat says remembering and applying. Gulnara says you need to understand vocabulary and apply it in a discussion.
Very good. Very good.
Understanding the situation from Rosalind. Very good.
Okay, so we're seeing some parallels, all throughout all of these activities. Before you can engage in those higher order thinking skills and the critical thinking, again, your students need that foundation vocabulary. They need to be able to understand it, and they need to be able to apply it, whether it's say it or write it or demonstrate it through theater in some kind of way.
Great.
Let's look at a couple more questions for this particular activity. Higher order thinking skills. So this activity was a little different than the last one. What kinds of higher order thinking skills were you using as you chose your groups and you ranked your items and you prepared your survival plan?
Great. What higher order thinking skills? I noticed someone writing before about analyzing. Very good.
Yes.
Magali also said analyzing the situation and solving the problem. Miriam, evaluating and analyzing. Tibna says making sense of the items and applying according to the situation. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Lucine says problem solving, reasoning, making decisions. Great. Excellent ideas, everybody. Good. Creating. Yeah. Wonderful.
So there's an evaluating element to this one. You have to evaluate, you have to rank order. You also have to negotiate. So when you're in your group, like you make your own decision about the items, but then you have to come to your group and you have to decide and make decisions around what's the most important and why. So lots of analyzing. A couple people noted the connection to a simulated real life situation. So the more real it feels to your students, the more likely they are to engage as well. It's a good point. Okay, previous experience, yes. Okay, nice, very nice. Well, would you like to find more of these? Where can we look? So I've got a couple of ideas. One is from the website Teach Thought. Lots of good stuff there, including this one website on 10 team building games that promote critical thinking. Also from Caroselli, 50 activities for developing critical thinking skills. I think both of these sites offer activities that you can use with all ages and all levels. Again, using those adaptation skills to make it simpler, make it more complex, make sure it's fitting the vocabulary that your students are ready and actively primed to be able to use. And then on our next slide, we have a couple more ideas of websites on multiple perspectives, building critical thinking skills from Read, Write, Think. Lots of good stuff from Read, Write, Think. And from Wabi Sabi Learning, 10 great critical thinking activities. And again, these PowerPoint slides are going to be made available afterwards. So don't worry, you don't have to take pictures or write all this down. It's going to be available to you to use and look at your leisure. So in closing, I'd like to thank Kate and all of our AE Live team for bringing us all together today. It was really lovely to be with you. The time totally flew by. If you'd like to know a little bit more about critical thinking, a couple of references I can recommend from the AmericanEnglish.state.gov website are the Integrating Critical Thinking into the Exploration of Culture, which is in the Teacher's Corner. I love the Teacher's Corner. Lots of practical ideas there, very easy to implement. And then from one of our authors in Turkey, Language Teaching Through Critical Thinking and Self-Awareness, which is available through English Teaching Forum. English Teaching Forum goes back more than 50 years with lots of fabulous ideas written by teachers for teachers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Leslie, for joining us today. What a great session.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we just had a really excellent kickoff to our American English Live Series 5 with our presenter today, Leslie Ott Beckman. Again, thank you so much for sharing some really wonderful ideas to help us incorporate more critical thinking into our daily lesson plans and activities. And I think we're all better prepared to increase the amount of time our students spend developing and using this important 21st century skill. So thank you. And of course, we'd like to thank you, our audience, for your lively engagement and participation today. It was wonderful to see all of your ideas and to see all of your enthusiasm for using some of these new ideas in your classroom soon. So please keep in touch on the Ning and through Facebook and through your regional English language offices, and share with us how you are using and incorporating these ideas in your classroom. And now